and you have to accept. You have to be a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that means that I am His servant even if I am faced with a negative situation. I don't stop being God's servant because I'm dealt something or I'm given something that could affect me in a negative way. I know as an adherent to the faith, I am going to come across tests that sometimes are going to be very difficult. I know I'm going to have to endure tests that are going to test me and press me and increase my stress. And I know this to be the case. I absolutely know this to be the case. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come through for me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of the matter. Allah, He will relieve me of the difficulties that I am suffering. But I know as an adherent, I am going to go through these things. I'm going to go through these tests. I'm going to have to endure. But I don't stop being God's servant just because I have these tests. I am not God's servant on the basis of Him treating me well. I am not God's servant on the basis of everything falling through or everything going well for me. I am not His servant on that basis. I am God's servant irrespective of what I am faced with. I am God's servant irrespective of what He decides. I am God's servant irrespective of whether I am on the receiving end of somebody's negative action. I am God's servant irrespective of what He determines. I accept. Part of that being God's servant is that you accept. There's that acceptance, that's the submission, whether you understand or don't understand. I am His servant, I am His slave. And that will always be the case, and that will never change. And this very good example is that of Sayyidina Ibrahim, when he went to sacrifice his son. He didn't give up that servitude because God told him, sacrifice your son. He didn't give up that servitude. That servitude is always there. I am always His servant, irrespective of what God determines, irrespective of what I am faced with. And I should know that is the case. And God has said, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, we are going to test you with certain things that will press you, that will be difficult, that will be hard, that will be mentally hard, mentally challenging. But you have to persist and endure in patience. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ, but give glad tidings to those who are patient. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He constantly reminds us of. But I am His servant irrespective. And this is a very, very significant thing as a belief for us to have. Not just something that is convenient, but as a belief that is required of each and every single one of us. That I have to be, and I am His servant, irrespective of the situation that I am in. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'inna al-qulub." Verily, in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hearts find contentment. They find rest. They find relief when you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that everything is going to be okay, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control, knowing that you have submitted and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come through, knowing that you have had that ittikal ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remedy the situation, knowing that you're in a situation and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will extricate you from that hole that you may find yourself in, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will extricate you from that hole. And that is always the case, that to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come through for you at the end of the day, and He always will.